Everyone, welcome to Super Jam Podcast. My name's David, and we have Cass and George with us here today. How are you doing, guys?
Doing good.
Amazing.
Very well, thank you.
Amazing to have you here. And I've also got Lily with us today on the podcast. How are you doing, Lily?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Amazing. So Lily's going to help us out with the questions and the interview on the student side of things. So you guys have got a show coming up at the Stag's Head in London on the 24th of January. So we're excited to talk about that. We're going to find out about your songs, the story of the band. We're going to find out a little bit about the show itself, what you guys have planned as well, anything you can tell us. But first, I thought we'd have a listen to the clip of What I Need. So let's have a listen to that now.
Hate to say it's too late to tap up. A step away from stop signs, from cold wine and doubt. World in motion and seasons in change.
So everyone, I hope you enjoyed that clip of What I Need, an amazing single, and we're going to find out loads about that song later on, which I'm so excited to chat about. But first, guys, what I was going to ask is either you can answer it, both of you if you want, but what is your funniest moment or fail that you've had as a musician in the past? We will ask every artist we interview this.
I have so many. I have so many. George knows that I embarrass myself constantly, pretty much.
As I do, and Cass knows that I embarrass myself constantly as well. So,
if I had to choose one, I would say in about 3 years ago, I had to sing a Joni Mitchell solo in a big concert. It was my first year of Guildhall, and I was so excited because I love Joni Mitchell so much. She's like one of my biggest inspirations. And the next morning, I woke up at 2 p.m. and the sound check was at 4 p.m. And I somehow made it sound check, but it was one of the worst performances I've ever done because I was just feeling so ill, had a headache. My whole family was there. Audience was massive. It was one of my favourite songs in the world, Big Yellow Taxi, and I just butchered it. So that was one of my worst ones.
That's a shame. George, what about you? Have you got any fails or things that have went wrong that are funny as a musician in the past?
oh yeah, of course. Had some quite recently, actually. I had one last week, which was quite embarrassing. It was actually completely Cass's fault as well, which is fun.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
We're getting the scandal here.
Oh no.
But we had the Guildhall Christmas big band end of term thing, and they get together like a big band with like strings and everything. It's like a huge big band. And we did Christmas songs and stuff, and all of their male singers had dropped out. And on the day of it, Cass was like, "Do you want to do it?" And I was like, "No." And then
I begged him
many more times, and I was like, "Okay, fine, as long as it's not weird songs." And then I got given 3 songs to sing, one of which I'd like never heard before, and I had to like get up on stage and like try and sight read it, and I completely messed it up. I just completely. And there's an awful amount of video evidence as well of me just going like la 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 la. Not knowing words.
My bad.
Yeah. So the answer to that is when you can get as much prep as you can, but it sounds like you didn't get a chance to that time, George. Oh dear. And what about with for the young musicians listening to this who are maybe starting out, or maybe they're a songwriter, musician, artist of kind of any type, where you're starting out and wanting to get writing, gigging, get out there? What would your advice be for that, Cass?
I'd say in the same vein as talking about embarrassing yourself, I think one of the most important things to do is embarrass yourself. Like, I think that if you're not frequently saying yes to things that you don't feel comfortable doing, you won't be pushing yourself as much as you could. I think that like doing things that are outside of your comfort zone is the only place that I've properly improved as a musician. Like even when George first asked me to make a song with him, I was like, I've never done anything like this before. In my head, I was like, what is this? I don't know what to do. I've never written a song on like a disco beat before. But to George, I was just like, yeah, man, I'll do it. Easy. And yeah.
That's really cool, actually.
It's the most important thing.
And it's such great advice and like sage advice as well. And I've even seen like clips of people like David Bowie chatting on a similar theme on this subject, like kind of like getting out there and out of your comfort zone. So thanks so much for that, Cass. George, what about you? What would be your sort of advice to any young person out there who's wanting to get gigging and writing and kind of progressing in their music career?
I just say, so similarly to Cass, I mean, you just got to say yes to pretty much everything, or like as much stuff as you can like take on. Because there's like old adage of like gigs lead to gigs, but then it's like, how do you get that first gig? Which I guess I mean, that's why, to be fair, companies like promoters like Real are really good for like taking in, relatively new artists or whatever for stuff like that. But just saying yes, honestly, and like going to like jams and like events and stuff, and just like meeting fellow musicians, and like eventually it'll kind of fall together really. And then just consistency as well, just like with writing especially, it's like anything, you just got to kind of do it a lot, and then it gets easier and you get better at it.
Amazing. Thanks, George. And Cass, really good advice there for anyone who's listening who wants to get out there more as well. And nice to shout out Real as well. This podcast is sponsored by Real Sound. It's not sponsored. It's a collaboration with Real Sounds, who are, of course, promoting your gig coming up, which we're talking about. And we've actually chatted to a few of the other artists who they're working with as well. So hopefully it'll be a fruitful, ongoing thing with them as well, which is cool. So yeah, shout out Real. And, because I do music as well. So how I encountered them was the same as you guys got a gig through them as well. So they're super supportive. And Charlie, who's one of the main co-founders of Real, did a podcast with us all about how he started in California in the 80s with hardcore punk shows and DIY to the T, So, listeners, check out that one if you get the chance to. It's exciting stuff. In regards to your gig, that's amazing advice for young musicians coming up as well. But I think it's time we're going to turn the spotlight onto you guys and find out a little bit about the story of the band. And I thought to start with, let's go right back. And I was going to ask Cass, how did you first get into music when you were young?
I think, honestly, it was mainly lockdown. When lockdown happened, I was in year 11, so my GCSEs got cancelled. And I just I spent most of that time in my room just teaching myself how to play the piano.
Cool.
And how to produce. I got Logic, and I just kind of became completely obsessed with music, to the point that when lockdown ended, I still was kind of just doing that, to the point where my mum was like, Cass, you're becoming like, you're neglecting everything else in your life. Like, it was quite obsessive. And she was like, you're late to everything because you're just playing the piano. And I was like, I need to get good at this. Like, I really wanted, like, I don't know. I just kind of decided that I needed to do it. But it was that. And like, up until that point, I hadn't really done insane amounts of music. I had learned the classical violin, but that has not really proved to be helpful at all. But yeah, I'd say it was lockdown.
Cool. It sounds like almost like the way the moon pulls the tide, you were drawn to music like that, like pulled towards it.
In a way, yeah. And I think it was
so
the silver lining of the terrible event happening of lockdown.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. George, what about you? How did you first get into music when you were starting out?
Man, my uncle bought me a ukulele when I was like, I must have been like 10 probably. And that was kind of it. It was just from there, it was like, then I wanted a guitar, then I wanted to learn the piano, and then blah, blah, blah. And then I got myself a little just like Casio keyboard. It was just kind of that was the catalyst though. Cause, I don't know, I think similarly to Cass, when like lockdown hit as well, that's when, I started like, producing stuff and like learned like writing properly, like in earnest, I suppose. But, shout out to Uncle Cliff for buying me the ukulele, because that was what kind of kicked everything off.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's nice that how you kind of pass down through a family member as well, for sure. Yeah, that's really cool. Awesome. Great to find out that. I know, Lily, you were wanting to find out a bit more about how the group happened, weren't you?
I have. So this is a question for both of you. How did you first form the group? So like, how did you first create and began creating your music as together?
Well, we were kind of moving in a similar circle in Guildhall. So we both study at Guildhall School of Music. And I think we had a couple of mutual friends. And I used to post a lot on my Instagram story, just like tiny clips of me singing and stuff. And I think George just one day was like, Cass, do you want to like write a verse on this disco track I've been making? And I was like, in my head, I was like, I've never done that before. I don't know if I'm cool enough to do that. But to George, I was just like, yeah, man, I got it. So I went home, I wrote something, and George was like, ah, cool. And then I think we just started making more songs from there.
Yeah.
And
Plus,
then,
we kind of had an awareness of each other before from like the student bar and stuff. Like I remember playing a couple games of table football with you before.
I do remember that, yeah.
Who won?
Not me, definitely not me.
Come on. Obviously.
Is this like a main contention in the band, the ongoing,
Table
ever-present table football warfare?
Still bitter.
Need a rematch.
That's amazing. What kind of music were you making before then, Cass? If you this was a new disco kind of genre, this track anyway. What kind of stuff were you making beforehand?
Well, my course is jazz voice, so my degree is in jazz singing. So
Cool.
I was just doing like traditional jazz. I was obsessed with like learning loads of like jazz scat, like Ella Fitzgerald and stuff like that. So it was completely different. And then I started branching into like folky stuff. So I was mainly writing folk music. But I'd always wanted to write like happier music. I had this desire to like write music that like is more uplifting and like makes people feel happy, because I feel like that's one of the main points of music, is just to like uplift and just like create like a live space where everyone can enjoy themselves and like feel better about life. And that's what I found with Cass and George. That's why I like put my whole heart into it as soon as George asked me to like collaborate with him.
That's amazing. And George, what drew you to making the kind of disco? And I know your other songs aren't all disco, but this first demo, what drew you to making that track?
Oh man, that was through uni actually, because of the course. So I'm also a student at Guildhall, and I do the produced music course, and this was in second year, where they make you do in one term they make you write like. They make you do like some like 20 different genres of like 20 different songs of different genres within one term. So it's like super intense. It's like one song every like week and a half you have to get to. And I was just like so overwhelmed. And I really, I just kind of needed I just wanted someone to bounce off a little bit, because I didn't want to have to like do everything. And, because I was so overwhelmed. But and Cass stepped in, and it was just very, it just kind of just worked really well. We get along really well, and it just helps. We're just really good friends. And it started from that session, because I mean, it was just in my room, just hanging out basically with a microphone. So
Cool. It sounds like Guildhall's like a really like fertile, kind of fun, creative place to be. And it's good to know, because our students, once they finish level 3, they do have the option of going to uni and further studies. So maybe hearing a bit about it on this might inspire some of our students as well to take a similar path as well. Some of them have went on to other music places. So yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, really cool. Now, Lily, you were wanting to know a little bit about the song For a Little Bit. So now we know a bit about the band's past, how you guys came together, the sort of a little bit of the ethos from the sort, the behind the band as well. You mentioned Cass. We're going to have a little chat about For a Little Bit, which is one of the singles. So Lily, do you want to ask a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when we had our prep session yesterday, me and David, obviously we were in our base in Canterbury, we were doing like a prep session where we were just practicing, and we were just thinking of like what questions to ask, like what music we're going to listen to of yours. So for this song a little bit, when we started listening to it, I was thinking, like, I had something in my mind to the lyrics. So I was thinking, how did you come up with the lyrics for the song?
Interesting. It took a lot of drafts, this song. Like, I think I rewrote the first verse, like, maybe 10 times, George hates when I do that. I wrote the pre-chorus. Well, the first thing that we came up with was the
hook. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I think that was like, I remember sending Cass like a voice note while making dinner, just being like, "Am I for a little bit,
Yeah.
na, 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 but I can't see." And then it just kind of, I guess we sort of reverse engineered it from there.
Yeah,
Really.
we worked backwards. Because then there's the line before that goes, "I'm down to get effed up if it makes it feel like I'm in love." And that was like the kind of line that leads into the main hook, which is like, that's not a sustainable like way to go about a relationship. It might work for a little bit, can't see down the line. So that was the foundation, I guess, of what the song was about from there.
Oh, cool. So that the theme got built around that hook and took from there. And then do you find it's quite a normal process to go through that revisions process for verses, or does it depend on the song?
To be honest, that was usually, I mean, with our other songs, we don't usually go through that many revisions. It seems to flow a bit more naturally. Not sure why with this one it felt like more of a struggle to get to the point, but I think it was worth it in the end.
Yeah, I think it's good for any songwriters listening to this to think like, oh yeah, so if other people have done it and went through like 10 revisions, that's okay. And it's okay when it's fully formed from the off as well. It's probably just hopefully good for other songwriters out there to hear that as well. Yeah. And staying on the topic of the vocals, I was thinking like the layered vocals near the end of the song, they're just amazing and almost like a choir. And I was wondering what inspired you guys to like stack the vocals like that, because it's such a cool moment in the song.
I think it's a big natural part of like our musical kind of vibe.
Definitely.
We love, like, it's our main like one of our main things.
The thinking behind it for me anyway is that like the human voice is like the one thing that we are definitively tuned in to hear. Like our ears are kind of, well, I mean, we've evolved to be drawn to the human voice, and like, why not use that as much as possible within music? Because it's what you kind of, it's what sounds best always. Like it's what, if you just layer vocals, everyone always just thinks like, oh wow, that sounds really good. It's because we're designed to hear it like that.
That's so cool. And is that the way this sort of brain processes sound and things? Was that part of your course of it, George, or part of your own just research, or just something you came across?
Just more. It was kind of, to be fair, we did do in first year, we did some, they set you like some challenges to do. And like one of the briefs was make like a 2-minute song only using like your sampled voice.
Cool.
And that like led me to like look into it a bit more, because I just really enjoyed it, and I've always really enjoyed like harmony as well, and because because I never like got amazing at like piano or anything, I found that just like working out harmonies and stuff was just much easier with my voice, and then it all just kind of, and then Cass is obviously an amazing vocalist and has a great ear too, and then just that combined, it just kind of went from there.
That's cool.
We get quite overexcited when we're doing harmonies. We're just like, oh, then we can add that one, then we can add that one. And then it ends up being a massive stack.
Amazing. And that's really cool to chat about, the stacks of vocals. And then Lily was going to ask a bit about the backing vocals as well, weren't you, Lily? That was something you picked up on.
It was, yeah. Because like halfway through the song, I heard the backing vocals and I really liked them because the way they sound. So I was thinking, how did you come up with the idea for all the backing vocals in this song?
I think I'm not sure. It seems to come quite naturally. So when I'm in the studio with George, I just do whatever I can hear. And then George kind of does a magical thing where he goes through and decides which ones he wants to keep in and which ones he doesn't, and layers them up, moves them around. I don't know. I guess this is more of a George question.
Okay, cool. So for you though, it's like you're listening back to it and just singing along to it.
Yeah.
And it sort of comes like that, yeah.
I think so. And George has an amazing ear as well for backing vocals, and lots of them are his as well, kind of embedded in, mixed with mine. We do a lot of like both of us being mixed into the background
Cool.
Like, give it a good like bed to lie in.
That's amazing. And then I think, Lily, you were going to ask about George's vocals as well, weren't you, for our next question?
Yeah, so I said like having two singers really work. So because when we heard it, when we listened to the music, we heard both your voice and we heard your voice, Kaz, and then we heard your voice, George. And then having them work together was really well. Why did you think of both singing voices in the song? Like, why did you think of having both of your voices in it?
Because it just sort of, I don't really know. It's kind of just how the song ended up happening. Plus, there was definitely a thought of like, we are called Cass and George, and it would be nice to have both of us in at least one of the songs that's going to be, out soon. Was what we were thinking, a few months ago anyway. Because I mean, a few more of our upcoming releases, the singing split a bit more, not quite 50-50. Cass is definitely, because Cass's voice is so great. I want to show it off as much as possible. But yeah, it just kind of worked. And it's also a nice sort of break from the main like timbre of Cass's voice, which, I mean, not that I ever get bored of it or anyone would, but it's nice to have the contrast of like, different sort of vocal styles and voices.
Yeah, for sure. We both really enjoyed that aspect of it. And like you said, it is fun. Like there's, famous like records where, the Beatles had Ringo singing on a track, or, Franz Ferdinand had Bob singing on a track once, their bassist, stuff like that. And I love that when that happens. Yeah. But obviously in a duo, it works so well when it's like both you guys singing. So that's cool. So does it, I've heard an expression before where people say like, starve the song. So do you guys just decide per song depending on how it's feeling?
I think, generally I sing what I write and George sings what he writes.
Cool.
So it feels very personal and like true. And there's some lyrics that I write that wouldn't work if George sang them because they're so like, I mean, a lot of them are very like from a woman's perspective in some of our future songs, like to do with, wearing makeup and beauty standards and things like that. And then the ones that come from George's perspective are very specific to George's outlook. And then I think it's very cool to combine both of those into one song. It's like you can get the two sides of the story in whatever topic we're talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the aim.
Absolutely. It's like having a movie with only one character. Why only have one character when you can have two? So yeah, 100%. Amazing. Great stuff. And one thing I wanted to chat about as well on for a little bit was I personally really love the keyboard sounds. I'm a massive synth nerd. So and of course you got the guitars. And I was wondering what other instruments did you feature on the record? And sort of a follow-up question, did you work with other musicians or was it just you guys? So what instruments, what other musicians? Can you tell us a little bit of the story of that, please?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, everything originally was played everything instrumentally was originally played by myself. And there's a lot of like chordal bass because I actually wrote it on the bass.
Cool.
So like especially like when I come in, it's just like my voice and the bass for me playing chords on the bass for that. And then, the synths are pretty much all from the Arturia collection, but the main sort of like keys sound, like synthy keys sound, that's just like a Rhodes plugin that I've then just put loads of stuff on to make it sound cool. And we worked with, so I initially recorded the guitar, but then I wasn't quite happy with the voicings. So I went and spoke to my flatmate, who's also in our live band, who's a great guitarist, like way better than me, and got him to just have a think. And then then the guitar part kind of came out of that. And he actually recorded the guitar on the record. And it was also his idea to have the reversed guitar bit as well, because he's just got good ideas sometimes. Credit where credit's due.
Yeah, I totally noticed that reverse guitar bit. I thought it was really cool. It was just something really catches your ear in the song, like almost straight away as well. And speaking of guitars, I think, Lily, you want to know a bit more about the guitars in this record, right?
I did, because I was thinking, because with the guitars you hear in music, but also on the record cover, I've noticed you had a guitar in your hand. What kind of guitars do you use, or what was that guitar you actually used?
So the guitar in so the guitar in the intro, well, basically most of the track was played with a Yamaha Pacifica, which but quite a cheap one to be honest. It's like relatively low end one because they sound really good. They're really versatile guitars.
Yeah.
And then so that was that's my flatmate's guitar. So like most of the chords are on that. And then the line, like the that's also on the guitar, that was on my Strat that I have, but my again quite cheap Strat
Yeah.
through some amp sims and stuff. And then everything else, chordal, was me playing the bass, and sometimes I pitched up the bass to make it sound like guitar as well. And that's what's on the album art, is me holding my bass, which is my baby. I love my bass.
What kind of bass is it there? We got plenty of guitar nerds at Super Jam, so they'll be dying to know what kind of bass it is as well.
Oh man, it's a Fender P. Well, it's a P bass, but it's kind of a PJ bass because it has like a back pickup as well as the P bass double pickup. And yeah, it's quite, again, it's not like a super high end one. It's like part of the Squire family. But I'm a big believer in, like, I don't think you necessarily need really expensive gear to get a good sound. Like, I mean, I know you don't need expensive gear to get a good sound. It's about, I mean, there's like a threshold, and like once you hit like a certain threshold, like any more money is just, as far as I'm concerned, kind of putting a hat on a hat, you know?
Yeah, and it's that old adage of like, use what you've got as well, like use what's available to you whilst you've got it. And, you know, if maybe one day you can upgrade, but you can still make amazing stuff with what resources you're at your fingertips at the moment. It's like sometimes I've heard artists almost self-sabotage a bit, like, oh, I could do that if I had this or if I had this. But the truth is, you probably always got something, even if it's just BandLab on a computer, the online DAW. Just use what you've got and make something cool, basically, is always what I try and say to people as well. Yeah. But that sounds like really, and thanks for answering that, because like I said, loads of guitar nerds at Super Jam, and we love hearing that detail as well.